I've done everything I need to do.
O campeão tem nome, se chama Charles do Bronx.
Whoever you put in front of me, I fought whoever.
Nós é iluminado, rapaz.
I don't care if I have to win another 10 fights before I get this belt. I'll do it.
Oh, Canada, let's get into it again. Keep the comments coming. Comment on any of the fighters and matchups here if you want to weigh in on this as well. First fight on the early prelims. We have Diana Belbiţă against Maria Oliveira. I mean, this one's pretty much a pick'em right now. As you look on the betting odds, minus 115 for Diana, minus 105 for Oliveira. Fighting out of Ontario is the Romanian Diana Belbiţă, 26 years of age, against the 26-year-old out of Brazil, Maria Oliveira, Spider Girl. Let's quickly talk about Diana here, though. 14-7 pro MMA record. She came out of KSW, 6 KO, TKO, 4 submissions, 4 decisions, 1-3 in the UFC, 1-1 in KSW. She was supposed to fight Loma Lukbumi, which honestly, Loma would have absolutely destroyed her. So she's lucky that that fell through. She lost the last fight to a 5-4 gal, beat a 5-1, lost to a 7-3. I mean, Molly McCann beat her. She was on a decent streak before then, but I mean, look at the fighters, 1-2. And the rest were absolute cans. So yeah, not a lot of confidence in the Romanian out of Canada right now. Her opponent, though, Spider Girl, 13-6, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, 7 KO TKO, 1 submission, 5 decisions. She's 1-2 in the UFC, 1-1 in Ryzen, and 0-1 off the Contender Series. Yeah, Vanessa Diamopoulos humbled her, I guess, because I think Oliveira was the favorite going in this, Spider Girl. In that fight, I mean, most MMA channels actually had, most MMA prediction videos from creators and everything had Maria Oliveira winning that one. Vanessa Diamopoulos, who, she's okay, I guess. She made her look silly in a split decision before that. I mean, Tabitha Ricci pieced her the up. And then you look at some of her other wins. Like, she lost to a 9-2 girl and a 9-0 girl. Her only other wins are against those making their debut, 0-6. I mean, both of these are can crushers. I mean, they both have knocked girls out. This one's tough. It's near even. I'll give it to, both similar records too. I'll give it to the Romanian. I'll give it to Diana Belbiţă. That's my prediction for that one. Next here on the prelims, we have David Dvořák against Steve Erceg, the Astro Boy. It's funny because he kind of looks like him as well. The Undertaker, David Dvořák, on a 2-fight losing streak, but he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights out of the Czech Republic. He's 31 years of age. He's the heavy favorite, minus 270. The underdog from Australia, plus 220, is Astro Boy Steve Erceg. Looking at Dvořák, though, here, 20 wins, 5 losses. 30, like I said, 31 years of age, 8 KO TKO, 8 submissions, 4 decisions, 3-2 in the UFC, 8-1 in Gladiator Championship fighting, and 4-0 in XFN. He lost to Manel Cap and Matthews Nicolau, both via decision. Before them was on a very good win streak here. 3 of those being in the UFC, 1 of them being in Octagon as well. You guys know how much I love Octagon and respect that promotion. He beat a 16-2 guy in Octagon, 10-3 in the UFC. I mean, Jordan Espinosa, 15-7, and then a 4-0. I mean, he should have won these 2 fights, let's be perfectly honest, but beating Bruno Silva, that, again, a veteran, not necessarily a can crusher, and a guy who's had some UFC experience up against Astro Boy here. Out of Australia, he's 27 years of age. 5-0 in his last 5 fights. 9-1 pro MMA record. 1 KO TKO, 6 submissions, so decent grappling background there. 2 decisions, 7-0 in Eternal MMA. Now let's take a look at some of his last opponents here. Okay, so he beat a 4-1 guy, man, a 7-5 guy, 2-0 guy. Okay, he beat a 12-4 guy via rear naked choke in the first one, Shannon Ross. He was 4-1. He beat a 5-4 guy. When he's 3-1, he beat a 12-7. His hasn't fought the best opponents, but I mean, he's gotten finishes against them in the jiu-jitsu side, on the grappling side. So I think it's going to be a decent fight here. I think Dvořák's not going to have an easy win, but I am going with the favorite here. I'm going with David Dvořák. Next on the prelims here, we have Blake Bilder against Kyle Nelson. Blake Bilder, El Animal. We've seen him fight on Cage Fury FC a few times, folks. He's undefeated 8 wins, 0 losses, fighting out of California against the Canadian Kyle Nelson, the monster, who, not the best recent record, 13-5-1, and he is a pretty big underdog, plus 200, 32 years of age. Take a look at Bilder, though. 1 KO, TKO, 4 submissions, 3 decisions, 1-0 in the UFC, 1-0 coming off Contender Series. And look, this guy's no slouch. This guy is no slouch. Cage Fury FC, as we know, is a solid promotion. 2 wins there. And on the rise, you know, didn't necessarily crush cans. Like, yeah, okay, he fought 5-8-1 guy in LXF. Well, he was 2-0-1. 3-3 guy, again, when he was 2-0, that's the one that ended up in a draw. When he was 3-0, he beat a 4-1 guy. When he was 4-0, beat a 10-5 guy. 5-0, beat a 6-3 guy. Got a finish on Contender Series. Both of his Cage Fury FC fights were finishes as well. And hey, he hasn't looked back upon entering the UFC, beating Shane Young via unanimous decision. Shane Young with a record of 13-6. And looking at his opponent, 5 KO TKOs for the monster Kyle Nelson, 4 submissions, 4 decisions. So well-rounded as a mixed martial artist. 1-4-1 in the UFC. How has he not been cut yet? I guess they just need some Canadian flavor at this point, I guess. I mean, his fights aren't even that exciting. 3-0 in real extreme fighting. Majority draw against Do Hoo Choi. We remember what happened there. Lost to Jay Herbert, lost to Billy Quarantino. 8-6 was Poyo Reyes. He should have beaten him as he did. Lost to Matt Sales, as well as Diego Ferreira. So as much as I want the Canadian to win here, I can't pick Kyle Nelson to win this one. Blake Bilder again impressed me in Cage Fury, impressed me on Contender Series, and has impressed me in the UFC thus far. There's a reason he's the favorite, going with Blake Bilder. Next we have Ariel Helwani against Aoriqileng, the Mongolian murderer. What a fucking tremendous nickname. And not Ariel Helwani, sorry. Aiemann Zahabi, who is basically Ariel Helwani. Zahabi 9-2 in his pro MMA career up against the Mongolian murderer, 24-9. 35 years old is Zahabi, is on a 2-fight win streak, training at a TriStar, of course. 4 KO, TKO, 3 submission, 2 decision. 3-2 in the UFC. He beat Ricky Turcios, which, I mean, Ricky Turcios, he'll throw a lot of volume. He'll throw a lot of punches, but doesn't really hurt his opponent. But he did win the Ultimate Fighter, so there you go. And Draco Rodriguez was 7-1, and he finished him with an overhand right 2 minutes into the first round. He lost to Vince Morales and Ricardo Ramos. Not really the best regional shows, but at least he fought some decent guys, or guys with experience. Now, he was 3-0. He fought a 7-8 guy, whatever. He was 1-0. He fought a 4-6 guy, whatever. And look, making his debut against a guy with 5 losses. I mean, look, they were teeing him up for a win there. Went 2-0 also on the amateur scene. But as soon as he kind of got up a little bit to 3-1 guy, 13-4, humbled with the 10-1, 8-3. But hey, seemingly looks like he belongs now. Does Zahabi, despite being 35 years of age, the Mongolian murderer, though, talk about experience, and he's much younger than Zahabi. 29 years old, on a 2-fight win streak, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I just love the nickname Mongolian murderer. 9 KO TKOs, 15 decisions, 0 submissions. So it only ends, one way or the other here. 2-2 in the UFC, 13-4 in Wulin Fang, and 2-3 in Qingwu Man MMA Professional League, baby. He beat Jay Perrin and Cameron Elsey. Ground and pound, did he beat Cameron? It was a 10-5 guy. His next one, Jay Perrin, was also 10-5, who he beat unanimous decision. Lost to Cody Durden and Jeff Molina before that. So 2-2 in the UFC. And again, a lot of experience fighting in China. Look, he's 21-7. He's fighting guys 5-1. I understand the promotion's not super deep, and if you want to stay active, you got to fight whoever they give you. But come on, though, between 2018 and 2020, he went on a 6-fight win streak. I mean, grain of salt, folks. I am going though with the more experienced Mongolian murderer on this one. It's nearly even. He's minus 115, but Mongolian fighters have been selling me as of late, and as they should. Given their ancestors, they are quite literally murderers. Moving up the card, Jasmine, I always up her last name, Jasudavicius against Miranda Maverick. It's like I know her name, but then I look at it and I'm like, oh. Jasmine is the pretty big underdog here at plus 240, fighting out of St. Catharines, Ontario. I thought she was younger than, she's 34 years old. I thought she was a bit younger than that. 8-2 in her pro MMA career. 4-1 in her last 5 fights, up against Fear, the Miranda Maverick, minus 300 favorite. 11-4, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. 25 years old, still very young in the sport, fighting out of Denver, Colorado. 2 KO TKO, 1 submission, 5 decisions, 2-1 in the UFC. She came off Contender Series. She beat Gabriela Fernandez via unanimous decision. She was 8-1, so that was a good decision coming off a win there. Lost to Natalia Silva. She got absolutely destroyed by Natalia Silva. Tough as nails. It went to decision, but she got absolutely pieced up. Silva showed that there were levels to this game. Before then, she beat Kay Hansen, Julia Polastri on Contender Series, and Ashley Dean via unanimous decision in Cage Fury FC. The only girl she lost to in Cage Fury was Elise Reed. Also fought in Cage Titan, BTC, and WFC. She went 4-0 on the amateur scene. Man, I want to pick the Canadian here. I don't think the bet, like, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but like, I don't think the betting odds should be this far apart, or am I just like looking through the red maple leaf glasses right now? I know Jasmine is not at the highest level in the division. Like, she can't hang with the highest level in the division. Is Maverick that though? I mean, she's been disappointing as of late as well. 1 KO TKO, 6 submissions, 4 decisions, 6-2 in Invicta, 4-2 in the UFC. Dismantled Shayna Young, and also has a win over Sabina Mazo. Lost to Aaron Blanchfield and Macy Barber. I guess there's no shame in either of those two, especially the Macy Barber fight, which was a close decision. She does have wins over Jillian Robertson as well. I'm going with Miranda Maverick. on this one. And if Jasmine wins and she agrees to come on the show, because we've talked a little bit about it, then I will make a very humble apology. Nasruddin Imavov against Chris Curtis. Imavov 12-4. The slight favorite, minus 160 against Chris Curtis, the action man. God, I get so pumped whenever it's a Chris Curtis fight week. The action man. Shout out to his podcast with Sean Strickland. 30-10, ladies and gentlemen. 30-10. He's 35 years old, but he looks like he's fucking 25. The guy is shaped like a Greek god. Against the Russian sniper out of France. Let's take a look at the 27-year-old Nasruddin Imavov here. 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He lost his last one. Trading out of the MMA factory. 5 KO TKO, 4 submissions, 3 decisions. 4-2 in the UFC. He lost his last fight to Sean Strickland, who agreed to take that fight on short notice and at a catchweight. A fight that he should not have lost. That is Imavov. Before he beat Joaquin Buckley, Edmund Shabazian, and Ian Hennish. Shabazian kind of sucks. Beat him via elbows from the crucifix, and ground and pound to Ian Hennish. Unanimous decision against Joaquin Buckley. He lost to Phil Hawes. I mean, come on. And yeah, I mean, put it this way. I've been drinking the Imavov Kool-Aid like our friends who follow us here on the channel in France. I think he was exposed a bit in that Sean Strickland fight. Mind you, it wasn't the guy he was preparing for. I get it, but he was preparing for a guy who was going to stand and strike with him and gassle him anyways. His opponent, Chris Curtis, again, 30 wins, 10 losses, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, fighting out of Las Vegas at Extreme Couture. 15 KO TKO, 3 submissions, 12 decisions. He's 4-2 in the UFC, 1-3 in the PFL, 1-0 off Contender Series. He lost to Kelvin Gastelum in his last fight. Props to Kelvin Gastelum. That was a great fight, but you know what? It wasn't an absolute dominating fight. Like, it was a good back and forth fight. It was a very entertaining fight, and man, Chris Curtis brings the heat, man. Beat Joaquin Buckley, knocked him the fuck out. Lots to Jack Hermanson. That was definitely an off night for Chris Curtis, and was on a run after that. A resurgence in his career upon losing 3 in a row in the PFL. Fights in Fight Night, goes to XMMA, Icon, Fierce, back to XMMA, beats Phil Hawes, beats Brendan Allen, beats Rodolfo Vieira, and a good win against Joaquin Buckley as well. I believe this is the first underdog that I'm picking, but I'm going with the action man, Chris Curtis. I mean, his best friend, training partner, co-host on the podcast, literally just exposed Imavov. I'm pretty sure Chris Curtis, despite being a little bit shorter than him, They have the same reach, and I think Chris Curtis with his experience and power is just going to fucking piece this Frenchie up. Eryk Anders against Marc-André Barriault to start off the pay-per-view, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, boy, one of the worst fight nicknames. Eryk Anders, 15-7 pro MMA career, 2-2 in his last 4 fights. It's a close betting odds right now. He's plus 115. Fighting out of Alabama. He's 36 years of age against Marc-André Barriault. He's fighting out of Florida, actually, yet he's from Quebec City, 33 years of age. And despite his record, despite his kind of back and forth in the win column and losses, Marc-André Barriault is a very, very fun fighter to watch. Whether you're American, Canadian, Brazilian, it doesn't matter. I believe he's someone that everyone can get on board with. Eryk Anders, though, a veteran in the game. I believe he's had 16 UFC fights, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check it out. 9 KO, TKO, 1 submission, 5 decisions, 7-7 in the UFC, and 1 no contest, 2-0 in LFA, 1-0 in Bellator. Lost to Joe Pyfer in a grappling match, beat Kyle Dawkins, but who hasn't? Lost to Jung Young Park. You know what? Jung Young Park is a hell of a fighter and tremendously underrated in the UFC, so that's not too bad. And Andre Muniz is a good fighter too, so these aren't bad losses. Those 2 in a row. Before then, beat Darren Stewart, Christoph Jocko. No shame in losing to Jocko, even though he was getting a little older at that time. Beat Gerald Meerschaert, good win. Vinicius Moreira, good win. Khalil Roundtree f***ed him up, though. Elias Theodoro, rest in peace to the Canadian legend, Elias Theodoro and Thiago Santos. Look, he's lost only to like the best of the best in his division at the time, sort of thing, right? Look, a tremendous gatekeeper, journeyman, if you want to call him that. And I mean no disrespect. The fact that he's carved out this long of a career in the UFC and put on exciting fights is an awesome accolade for Eryk Anders. And the fact that the betting odds are this close against Marc-André Barriault, who, again, I think his stock is rising. That just says how game and how much of a dog and how much of a beauty Eryk Anders is. But looking at Power Bar here, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He is coming off a win. 10 KO, TKO, 1 submission, 4 decision, 4-5-1 in the UFC. But I always say this when we talk about don't let the UFC record fool you. The company likes this guy. 6-0 in TKO Major League, 3-0 in Ligue d'Arts Martiaux Mixte de Quebec, and 2-1 in Hybrid Combat Promotions. Benjamin saying Anders by KO, let's go. Beat Julian Marquez. And again, that fight showed, started off slow as the power bar charged up and absolutely dominated him and standing TKO in the second round. Lost to Anthony Hernandez via an arm triangle choke, but was winning the fight, in my opinion, up until he got caught there. And he even said he's worked on his cardio since, and we saw that in the Julian Marquez fight. Lost to Chidi Njokuani, beat Jordan Wright. I mean, has some decent wins in the UFC here. Now, again, it's so funny, because Anders and him lost to seemingly the same guys around the same time in Jocko, Jung Young Park, and additionally for Marc Barriault, Andrew Sanchez. Decent wins in TKO against guys. Again, this is what I like about some of the Canadian promotions too, and about Marc-André Barriault in particular. Look, when he was 10-1, he fought a 7-1 guy, 9-3, 7-4, 9-3, 6-1. He ain't fighting cans, man. Even when he's 4-1, fighting a 5-2 guy. That's what we want to see in a development of a fighter. And now that he's coming into his own, we can see that he can hang with some tremendous fighters in the UFC. His losses, I feel like, just like Eryk Anders, are aging pretty well as far as how good they are in the UFC. And based on his last 2 performances, I'm going with the power bar Marc-André Barriault. Up the card here, as we got 10 minutes till 1, so I got to fire through this. Dan Ige and Nate the Train Landwehr. Man, this might be the best fight on the card. Honestly, this might be the most exciting fight on the card. 16-6 for Dan Ige's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but back in the win column in his last fight. He is the big favorite here, minus 260. Out of Hawaii, 31 years of age, and he's also the 15th ranked fighter in the division, or 13th ranked fighter in the division, up against Nate the Train Landwehr, who's on a 3-fight win streak, 17-4 as a pro. He's the plus 210 underdog. He trains out of Extreme Couture as well. 5 KO, TKO, 5 submissions, 6 decision, a very well-rounded fighter, and he's never been finished. He's never been finished. 8-5 in the UFC, 1-0 off Contender Series. Beat Damon Jackson his last fight with a beautiful left hook, knocked his ass out. Again, he was on a skid before then, lost to Evelev, lost to Emmett, lost to Chan Sung Jun. Before then, he beat Gavin Tucker, lost Calvin Kattar. I mean, no shame in that. It was on a hell of a run upon entering the UFC, folks. Santiago, Jordan Griffin, Danny Henry, Kevin Aguilar, Bektik, and Edson Barboza. He still showed that he's got it in his last fight for sure. Who's my flag here? His opponent, Nate the Train Landwehr. What an absolute beauty. He's becoming one of my favorite fighters. I'm just a fan of him. 8 KO, TKO, 2 submissions, 7 decisions, 4-2 in the UFC, 5-0 in M1, and 3-1 in XFC. I believe he was a champion in M1 Global as well, and M1 Global is a legit promotion, ladies and gentlemen. Beat Austin Lingo. Not the best fight, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, but he did get him in the rear naked choke and finish it. David Onama, again, that one wasn't super, super crazy, but Ludovic Klein, he fucking brought the heat in that one. Lost to Julian Erosa, quick flying knee there. The Darren Elkins fight was unbelievable. What a war between both of them. Lost to Herbert Burns, which again, you lose to Herbert Burns. Come on, man. But that was his UFC debut. I think he's coming to his own in the UFC, and I hope that this one is an absolute banger. Man, this one's tough. I love Dan Ige. I think Dan Ige can finish Nate Landwehr, but I think if this goes to decision, Nate Landwehr is going to win this fight. So here's my second. This one's probably the most hottest. This is the hottest take I think I have. Landwehr, I'm taking him as the underdog. Moving up the card here, Mike Malott against Fugitt. Fugitt with a tough weight cut, but Fugitt, again, he's the one who beat Shane's boy, Kinoshita, a very, very, he's a tremendous kickboxer when he shows up. 9-3 in MMA, but Mike Proper Malott. Man, 9 wins, 9 finishes. He's 9-1. He is the moderate favorite, minus 210. 31 years old, fighting out of Sacramento, California, but he's from Ontario, baby. 4 KO, TKO, 5 submissions. 2-0 in the UFC, 1 draw in Bellator, 0-1 in World Series of Fighting, and he had to win on Contender Series that launched him into the UFC. Arm triangle choke again, Johan Lanes. And again, beat Mickey Gall. Not the best win there, but he's been finishing all his opponents, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what's tremendous about this young man coming into his own, and he's stealing the show. He's the most pumped fighter on this card to be fighting in Vancouver. Adam Fugitt, just south of Vancouver in Oregon, plus 170. Again, very good kickboxer. 5 KO, TKO, 3 submission, 1 decision, 1-1 in the UFC, 1-1 in LFA. Humbled Kinoshita. Absolutely humbled Kinoshita in that one. Lost to Michael Moraes, though. Beat Renfro in the LFA. I mean, look, when he's on, he looks damn good. Again, that performance against Kinoshita was incredible, and pretty much everyone had Kinoshita winning that one. If he's on, he's on. I just think Malott has more tools. He's stronger. He's more imposing. And if Fugitt tags him even once and he's like, okay, I don't want to kickbox with this guy, I think Mike Malott will take this to the ground and submit him or just dominate him in the grappling. So I'm going Mike Malott there. That is my pick. Here we go. Co-main event. I won't do just a full breakdown on both these guys because you guys know these fighters well. Charles do Bronx Oliveira, Beneil Dariush. We don't even need to go through, their records there. Look at Beneil Dariush on an 8-fight win streak. Charles Oliveira was on one of the craziest lightweight runs we've seen in a long time, only losing to the now champion Islam Makhachev. They're pretty much the same age. Dariush 34, 33 is Oliveira. They're both good grapplers. This is my just quick 2 cents on it. Oliveira, very much more of the explosive and offensive grappling, right? He likes to pounce and finish stuff. He's not that old school gi jiu-jitsu type grappler who will put the pressure on and slowly but surely, especially with some wrestling background now with some of these fighters, dig into the position and be more defensive in some of those explosive moves. On the feet, this is Oliveira's fight. If he can keep it on the feet, he's a way better striker. That Muay Thai, MMA hybrid style of striking Oliveira and Shoot-a-Box have mastered. And for a skinny boy, he hits fucking hard. So if this stays on the feet, obviously Beneil Dariush has a chance of cracking one of those crazy shots that he throws, which look weird, but hey, work for him. But at the end of the day, I'm giving it to, I think Beneil Dariush just has more tools in his tool belt. If Charles Oliveira doesn't crack Beneil Dariush and, Dariush and basically drops him. If Charles Oliveira doesn't drop Beneil Dariush and pounce on him quickly to sink in that choke, I think if this goes the distance, Dariush will win. And if Charles Oliveira can't knock down Dariush and as a result quickly pounce on what he's good at in those explosive submissions, this is Benny Dariush's fight to lose. The odds are so close on this one for a reason. I love both of these fighters. I don't want to see either of them lose. It's Beneil Dariush's time, though, I think. But if Charles Oliveira wins, I will cut my hair and I'll dye it blonde. Ladies and gentlemen, the main event of the evening, Amanda Nunes against Irene Aldana. Look, Irene Aldana, as a fan, she's won me over this last fight week. Amanda Nunes, she is the women's GOAT of mixed martial arts. Like, she is incredible. I mean, I'm an Amanda Nunes fan as the athlete and as the fighter. Amanda Nunes, the lioness, 22-5. She is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She was injured in that fight, defending her title against Juliana Pena, and came back and absolutely destroyed Pena. Pena's a tough cookie. The fact that she lasted 5 rounds is crazy with the and her face was mangled. But the lioness Amanda Nunes showed that, you know, this is my belt. This is my belt. Minus 345 favorite, 35 years of age. Looking at Irene, I mean, we know her pedigree. She's amazing. She's the best. She's took out Rousey. She took out Cyborg. She's been taking out the best in her division. She beat Shevchenko twice. Okay. She beat Shevchenko twice. Irene Aldana, 14-6 on a 2-fight win streak. 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She is the underdog. She's also 35 plus 260. I know Mexico's on a run right now. I know she trains with Alexa Grasso. 8 KO, TKO, 3 submissions, 3 decisions. 7-4 in the UFC, 4-1 in Invicta. Look, again, I know that knockout to Macy Chiasson, the upkick to the liver, was amazing. Dude, she wasn't looking too good in that fight before then, okay? And it's Macy Chiasson, for f***'s sakes. She beat Yana Santos again. Good win, ground and pound early in the fight. Cracked her quickly and ended it there. Lost to Holly Holm, though, unanimous decision. You can't lose those fights. Beat Ketlin Vieira, good win. Beat Vanessa Melo, good win. Look, she has knockout power, but against Nunes, I don't think she does. I think Nunes' chin can withstand the shots of an Aldana. And in the fights that have gone to decision for Aldana, she hasn't really impressed me. Look, she's a good fighter. She's got tremendous stand-up. So I think she's actually going to give Nunes like a good fight on the feet rather than Juliana Pena running in crazy with strikes and Nunes moving to the side and just cracking her, right? I think with the Mexican boxing background and everything, it's going to be a good fight on the feet. If Amanda Nunes mixes things up and goes full MMA on her ass, look, there's a reason she's the favorite. There's a reason she's the greatest of all time. I'm going with Amanda Nunes. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining. Again, appreciate everyone joining us for this quick UFC prediction. Thanks to the exclusive members, all of you who support this channel.